Sam Tyler looked at the approaching Drachmer ships on the main viewing screen and felt something change inside his mind. The fear that had gripped him moments before transformed into a cold determination that surprised everyone, including himself. "I will do it," Sam announced as he turned to face Captain Sterling. "But we need to get to Zixara's ship immediately, before those vessels reach us." Amy nodded and began issuing orders to the bridge crew. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper pushed the engines to maximum power, while Security Chief Ben Walker prepared the shuttle for emergency launch. Dr. Tony Garcia gathered his medical equipment in case something went wrong during the neural linking process. "Captain, the Drachmer ships will intercept us in approximately 20 minutes. Science Officer Kate Miller reported while tracking their approach vectors. "Their weapons are charging, and they appear to be preparing for attack." Zixara was working frantically at one of the bridge stations, trying to activate emergency systems on her crashed ship. Her skin colors shifted rapidly between different shades as stress and hope battled in her alien physiology. The quantum device is still functional, but the power systems were damaged in the crash, she explained while her fingers danced over the control interfaces. "We will need to reroute energy from your ship to complete the neural linking." Jake Martinez was coordinating the landing party while Amy remained on the bridge to command the ship. The next few minutes would determine whether Earth survived or joined the countless worlds the Drachmer had already destroyed. "Sam, are you absolutely certain about this decision?" Jake asked as they rushed toward the shuttle bay. "Once the process begins, there will be no way to stop it." "I am sure," Sam replied with more confidence than he actually felt. "Someone has to protect Earth, and apparently that someone is me." The shuttle launched from the horizon's edge and raced toward the alien crash site, while the Drachmer ships continued their deadly approach. Ryan had calculated they would have just enough time to begin the neural linking before the enemy arrived. Inside Zixara's ship, the quantum device looked nothing like Sam had expected. Instead of complicated machinery, he found what appeared to be a living crystal formation that pulsed with soft rainbow colors. The device seemed to sense his presence and began glowing brighter as he approached. "Place your hands on the crystal surface and open your mind to the cosmic network," Zixara instructed while connecting power cables from the human shuttle. "The transformation will begin immediately." Sam hesitated for just a moment as he thought about everything he would be leaving behind. His family on Earth would never know what happened to him, and he would never again experience simple human pleasures like eating his mother's cooking or laughing with friends. But then he thought about the millions of innocent people who would die if the Drachmer reached Earth. Children who would never grow up and parents who would never see their families again. The choice became clear. Sam placed his palms against the crystal surface and immediately felt electricity coursing through his nervous system. The sensation was not painful, but incredibly intense as his consciousness began expanding beyond the boundaries of his individual mind. At first, he could still hear the voices of his crewmates and the sound of approaching Drachmer ships. But gradually those earthly concerns faded as his awareness stretched across vast distances of space and time. He began to sense other guardian consciousnesses scattered throughout the galaxy. Ancient beings who had once been individuals like himself, but had chosen to become protectors of younger races. They welcomed him into their network with warmth and understanding. But something unexpected happened as Sam's human mind merged with the cosmic consciousness. Instead of losing his individual personality, he found that his human stubbornness and creativity actually enhanced the Guardian network rather than diminishing it. The other Guardians had accepted their roles with peaceful resignation, but Sam brought something new to their ancient order. He brought the human refusal to accept defeat and the burning desire to find better solutions to impossible problems. "This is not right," Sam said, as his expanded consciousness touched the approaching Drachmer fleet. "These creatures are destroying Worlds because they are afraid of competition, but fear should not drive anyone to commit genocide. Zixara watched in amazement as the quantum device responded to Sam's altered perspective. Instead of simply creating a defensive shield around Earth, the device began generating something far more complex and powerful. Energy patterns that had never existed before flowed out from the crystal formation and spread across the galaxy faster than light speed. Sam was not just becoming a guardian of Earth, but was fundamentally changing what it meant to be a cosmic protector. The Drachma ships reached the moon just as Sam's transformation entered its final phase. Their weapons powered up and began firing at both the human vessel and the alien crash site. But the energy beams simply dissolved harmlessly against the new type of shield Sam had created. Impossible, the Drachma commander transmitted on an open frequency. No known technology can neutralize our plasma cannons. Sam's consciousness reached out to touch the minds of the Drachma crew and discovered something that surprised him. These beings were not evil monsters, but frightened creatures who had been taught to fear any species that might someday challenge their dominance. Instead of destroying the Drachma fleet, Sam did something that shocked both his human crewmates and the Cosmic Guardian network. He began communicating directly with the enemy ships, using telepathic abilities he had not known he possessed. "Why do you destroy worlds that have done nothing to harm you?" Sam asked the Drachma commander, while his expanded consciousness analyzed their entire civilization. "Because history teaches that younger races always seek to conquer their elders," the commander replied with obvious confusion. "It is better to eliminate threats before they can grow strong." "But what if there was a different way?" Sam suggested, while showing the Drachma visions of peaceful cooperation between species. What if younger races could become allies instead of enemies? The Drachma fleet stopped firing as their crews struggled to understand what they were experiencing. For thousands of years, they had known only conquest and fear, but this strange human consciousness was offering them something they had never imagined. Sam reached out across the galaxy and began awakening similar potentials in humans everywhere. Instead of requiring one person to sacrifice their individuality, he was creating a network that allowed people to retain their humanity while gaining cosmic awareness. Children on Earth suddenly looked up at the stars with new understanding, while scientists found solutions to problems that had puzzled them for decades. Artists created works of beauty that touched alien hearts across the galaxy, and diplomats discovered they could communicate with species they had never met. The transformation was not limited to humans either. Sam's influence began spreading to other young races throughout the galaxy as the concept of cooperation replaced the old cycles of fear and conquest. The Drachma commander found his certainty crumbling as he witnessed civilizations choosing to work together instead of fighting for dominance. "This changes everything," the commander admitted as his fleet powered down their weapons. "If younger races can truly become allies, then perhaps it is time for the Drachma to end our isolation." Amy Sterling watched from the bridge of the horizons edge as the enemy ships changed course and began transmitting peaceful greetings instead of threats. The sight of former enemies becoming potential friends brought tears to her eyes. Zixara stood beside the quantum device as Sam's physical body dissolved into pure energy, but his consciousness remained connected to everyone he cared about. He had not lost his humanity, but had instead shared it with the entire galaxy. "Hello, Earth." Sam's voice came through the communication system with warmth and love that transcended his transformation. "I am still me, but I am also something more now. I will always watch over you and help guide humanity toward its destiny." Among the stars, the shy alien girl who had crashed on a distant moon looked up at the cosmos with wonder as she realized that her desperate cry for help had changed the fundamental nature of galactic civilization forever. Sam Tyler sat in stunned silence as the full weight of what Captain Sterling had told him settled into his mind. The conference room felt smaller somehow as he looked around at the faces of his crewmates. Everyone was watching him with expressions of sympathy and concern while waiting for his response to the impossible choice he now faced. So you are telling me that I can save Earth by connecting my brain to an alien device, but I will lose everything that makes me human in the process, Sam said slowly as he tried to understand the situation. That is correct, Amy replied gently. According to Zixara, you would gain cosmic awareness and incredible power, but your individual personality would merge with something much larger. Dr. Lisa Brooks activated the holographic display and showed Sam images that Zixara had shared of other worlds protected by the quantum device. Beautiful planets with diverse alien civilizations all living safely because someone had made the same sacrifice. Sam was being asked to consider. These are the worlds that have been saved by people like you, Lisa explained while the images rotated slowly. Each one had someone willing to give up their individual existence to protect their entire species. Sam studied the alien landscapes and tried to imagine the beings who lived there. They all looked so different from humans, but the cities and artwork suggested they had hopes and dreams, just like people on Earth. Someone had cared enough about strangers to become their eternal guardian. What would happen to my family back on Earth? Sam asked as he thought about his parents and younger sister. Would I still remember them or care about them? Zixara says you would remember everything but experience it differently, Lisa replied. Instead of loving just your family, you would feel protective of all life in the galaxy. Security Chief Ben Walker was still suspicious of the entire situation and worried they were being manipulated by forces beyond their understanding. How do we know this alien girl is telling us the truth? Ben demanded while pointing toward the medical bay. Maybe this is exactly what her people want, and the whole Drachmer threat is just a story. Jake Martinez had spent the most time with Zixara and felt confident about her honesty. The fear in her voice when she spoke about the Drachmer was too real to be an act. I believe she is telling the truth, Jake said firmly. She lost her entire crew to these creatures and barely escaped with her life. Science Officer Kate Miller had been analyzing the gravitational data, and her results continued to support Zixara's warnings about the approaching Drachmer fleet. The astronomical evidence backs up her claims, Kate announced while showing her calculations. Something massive is definitely moving toward our solar system. Sam looked at the star charts, showing the projected path of the Drachmer fleet, and felt a chill run down his spine. In 6 months, those ships would reach Earth and millions of innocent people would die unless someone stopped them. Can I talk to Zixara directly before I make my decision? Sam asked. I want to understand exactly what I would become, Amy nodded, and asked Dr. Tony Garcia to bring Zixara to the conference room if she was strong enough to travel. Within minutes, the alien girl appeared in the doorway, looking nervous but determined to help. Zixara. Skin showed soft blue and green colors, which Lisa had learned meant hope mixed with sadness. She approached Sam carefully and studied his face. With those large reflective eyes. You are the one who can save your world, Zixara said quietly in her musical voice. I am sorry the burden falls on someone so young. What will I become if I connect to your device? Sam asked while trying to keep his voice steady. Zixara closed her eyes and touched the palm screens built into her hands. Suddenly the air around them shimmered and Sam found himself experiencing visions of cosmic consciousness. He saw the vast network of civilizations across the galaxy, all connected by invisible threads of protective energy. Guardian consciousnesses watched over countless worlds while sharing knowledge and compassion with each other. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. You would join the Eternal Watchers, who guard the young races from those who would destroy them, Zixara explained as the visions faded. Your human perspective would make the network stronger, because your species sees possibilities others miss. Sam felt overwhelmed by what he had experienced, but also strangely drawn to the idea of becoming something greater than himself. The loneliness of cosmic consciousness was balanced by the joy of protecting innocent life. Would I be able to help Earth in other ways, besides just defending against the Drachma? Sam asked as he considered the implications. Yes, the Guardian Network shares knowledge that could advance your civilization by thousands of years, Zix-Ara replied. But only if your people prove they can use such knowledge wisely. Ryan Cooper had been studying the technical specifications of the quantum device and was impressed by the advanced engineering involved. How long would the transformation process take? Ryan asked while reviewing the neural interface requirements. The initial connection takes several hours, but full integration with the cosmic network requires several days, Zix-Ara explained. During that time, the subject experiences gradual expansion of consciousness. Sam stood up and walked to the viewing port, where he could see the alien ship resting on the moon's surface. The biomechanical hull continued to pulse with gentle lights that somehow reminded him of a heartbeat. If I do this, will there be any way to reverse the process? Sam asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. No, Zix-Ara replied sadly. The neural changes are permanent and cannot be undone. Amy watched Sam's face as he wrestled with the decision that would determine not just his fate, but the survival of his entire species. She wanted to order him to refuse, but knew the choice had to be his alone. I need some time to think about this, Sam said finally. Can you give me a few hours? Of course, Amy replied. Take all the time you need. Sam left the conference room and walked through the corridors of the ship he had called home for 3 months. Everything looked the same, but felt different now that he knew he might have to leave it all behind forever. Stopped by his quarters and looked at the pictures of his family on Earth. His parents had been so proud when he was selected for this mission, and his little sister had made him promise to bring back stories about aliens. Now he might become something that could never return home. As Sam sat on his bunk, trying to decide what to do, the ship's proximity alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the horizon's edge. Emergency lights flashed as the crew rushed to battle. Stations. Captain Sterling's voice came over the communication system with obvious urgency in her tone. All hands to emergency stations. We have multiple contacts approaching our position at high speed. Sam ran to the bridge, where Jake was coordinating sensor sweeps of the surrounding space. The main viewing screen showed several dark shapes moving toward them with deadly purpose. Captain, I am detecting 5 ships of unknown configuration approaching from the outer system, Kate reported while her instruments tracked the incoming vessels. Their energy signatures matched the descriptions Zix-Ara gave us of Drachma technology. Zix-Ara appeared on the bridge looking terrified as her skin shifted to deep red and black colors. She stared at the sensor readings with obvious horror. They found us, she whispered. The Drachma have tracked my ship's quantum signature, and now they know humans have made contact with the Veltar. Amy turned to Sam with grim determination in her eyes. The time for thinking is over, she said as the enemy ships closed the distance. If you are going to save Earth, you need to make that choice right now. The conference room aboard the horizon's edge had never felt so tense as the senior staff gathered to discuss what Zix-Ara had told them. Captain Amy Sterling sat at the head of the table while Jake Martinez gave his report on their meeting with the alien. Dr. Tony Garcia had managed to treat most of Zix-Ara's injuries, and she was now resting in the medical bay under careful observation. So let me understand this correctly, Amy said while looking at the data Lisa had compiled. An alien empire called the Drachma is planning to attack Earth in 6 months, and the only warning we have comes from a crashed alien ship. That is correct, Captain, Jake replied, while studying the star charts Zix-Ara had provided. She says, her people have been monitoring our technological development, and became concerned when we achieved faster than light travel. Security Chief Ben Walker was pacing around the room like a caged animal. The idea that Earth was under threat from an unknown enemy made every military instinct he had scream for action. "How do we know this is not some kind of elaborate trap?" Ben demanded while pointing at the alien ship on their viewing screen. "We have only her word that any of this is true." Science Officer Kate Miller had been running calculations on her portable computer for the past hour. The mathematical models Zixara had shared about the Drakmar fleet movements matched unusual gravitational readings their long-range sensors had detected. "Actually, the data supports her claims," Kate announced while showing her results to the group. "I have been tracking several gravitational anomalies in nearby star systems that match exactly with what she described as Drakmar fleet signatures." Lisa Brooks had spent the last few hours working with Zixara to learn more about Veltar technology and culture. The alien girl was remarkably patient despite her obvious fear and had shared information that could revolutionize human understanding of physics. "There is something else she told me that we need to discuss," Lisa said quietly. "The Veltar have a device that could protect Earth from the Drakmar attack, but using it requires a terrible sacrifice." Everyone in the room turned to look at Lisa as she explained what Zixara had revealed about the quantum resonance device. The technology could create an energy shield around Earth's entire solar system, but it required a permanent neural link with a human volunteer. "What exactly does that mean?" Amy asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "The person who activates the device would gain incredible cosmic awareness and the power to protect not just Earth, but potentially thousands of other worlds," Lisa explained with sadness in her voice. "But they would lose their individual human identity in the process." Tony Garcia looked up from his medical reports with obvious concern. The idea of permanently altering someone's brain structure went against everything he had learned about medical ethics. "Are we talking about some kind of mind control or brainwashing?" Tony asked while reviewing the biological data Zixara had provided. "No, it is more like becoming part of a larger consciousness that spans the galaxy," Lisa replied. She showed me images of what the person would become, and it is both beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Ryan Cooper had been quiet during most of the discussion, but now he spoke up with typical engineering practicality. "Does this device actually work, or is it just theoretical?" Ryan asked while studying the technical specifications. "Because if we are going to ask someone to sacrifice their humanity, we better be certain it will save Earth." Lisa activated the holographic projector and showed them images Zixara had shared of other worlds the quantum device had protected. The technology was definitely real and had saved dozens of civilizations from Drakmar destruction over thousands of years. "The device works, but it requires someone with specific genetic markers and neural flexibility," Lisa continued. "According to Zixara scans, only certain humans would be compatible with the technology." Jake felt his stomach tighten as he realized where this conversation was heading. Someone on their crew might have the genetic markers needed to operate the alien device. "Has she scanned all of us to see who might be compatible?" Jake asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. "Yes, she has," Lisa replied while pulling up the genetic analysis results. "Most of us are not compatible because our neural pathways are too rigid. But there is one person on this ship who has exactly the right genetic combination." The room fell silent as everyone waited to hear who would be asked to make the ultimate sacrifice for Earth. Lisa looked around the table at each of her friends and colleagues before revealing the answer. "Communications Officer Sam. Tyler has the genetic markers and neural flexibility needed to operate the quantum device," Lisa announced. "He is the only person on this ship who could save Earth." Everyone turned to look at the empty chair where Sam should have been sitting. The young officer was currently on duty, managing ship communications. and had no idea that the fate of his entire species might rest on his shoulders. "Sam is barely 25 years old," Tony protested. "How can we ask someone that young to give up their entire life for a planet he might never see again?" Amy stood up and walked to the viewing port, where she could see Earth's sun as a tiny distant star. The weight of command had never felt heavier than it did at this moment. "We cannot ask anyone to make that choice," Amy said firmly. "This has to be completely voluntary, and Sam needs to understand exactly what he would be giving up." Ben Walker was still suspicious of the entire situation, and worried they were being manipulated by forces they did not understand. "What if this is exactly what the aliens want?" Ben said while checking his weapon systems. "What if the real plan is to get one of our people connected to their technology so they can control us?" "Zixira is not like that," Lisa replied with conviction. "I have spent hours talking with her, and she is genuinely terrified of the Drachma. She lost her entire crew when they attacked her ship." Kate Miller had been running more calculations, and her results were not encouraging. Even if they sent a message to Earth immediately, it would take months for any military response to be organized. "The timeline does not work in our favor," Kate announced. "Even if Earth started building a defense fleet today, it would not be ready." Before the Drachma arrive, Ryan Cooper was studying the technical data about the quantum device and trying to understand how it actually worked. The physics involved were far beyond anything humans had developed, but the principles seemed sound. "If Sam agrees to do this, would he be able to communicate with us afterward?" Ryan asked while reviewing the neural interface specifications. "According to Zixara, he would become something beyond individual consciousness," Lisa explained. "He would still care about Earth and humanity, but not in the same way as before." Amy made the decision that she knew had to be made, even though it felt like the hardest thing she had ever done as a captain. "Bring Sam to the conference room," Amy ordered. "He deserves to know what we have learned and what choice he faces." Jake activated the ship communication system and called Sam to report to the conference room immediately. Within minutes, the young officer arrived looking curious about why the entire senior staff wanted to see him. "Sir, is there a problem with the communication systems?" Sam asked while taking his seat at the table. Amy looked at the eager young face and felt her heart break a little. Sam Tyler had joined this mission because he wanted to explore the galaxy and maybe find signs of alien life. Now he was about to learn that alien life had found them first and was coming to destroy everything he cared about. "Sam, we need to tell you about something that could change your life forever," Amy began while trying to find the right words. "What we are about to ask of you is the most important decision any human has ever faced." The shuttle bay doors closed behind them as Jake Martinez led the landing team toward the alien crash site. Amy Sterling had decided to stay aboard the Horizon's Edge to coordinate the mission while Jake took Dr. Lisa Brooks and Dr. Tony Garcia down to the moon's surface. Security Chief Ben Walker came along with 2 Marines just in case things went wrong. The moon had no atmosphere, so they wore full environmental suits with 12 hours of air each. The gravity was much lighter than Earth, which made walking feel strange and bouncy. Jake could hear everyone breathing heavily through the comm system as they approached the massive alien spacecraft. Up close, the ship looked even more incredible than it had from orbit. The hull seemed to be made of some kind of living metal that changed colors as they watched. Blues and purples flowed across the surface like water, while soft lights pulsed underneath. The ship was easily 3 times longer than their own vessel, and had a graceful curved design that reminded Jake of a sea creature. "The hull appears to be some kind of biomechanical hybrid," Tony observed as he ran his medical scanner over the ship's surface. "I am detecting organic compounds mixed with metals we do not have names for yet." Lisa was working on her translation device, trying to decode more of the distress signal. The voice was much clearer now that they were close to the source. It sounded young and frightened, like someone barely old enough to be in space at all. "I think I have breakthrough with the language," Lisa announced excitedly. "The sentence structure is similar to some Earth languages, but the vocal patterns suggest a completely different physiology." Ben Walker and his Marines had found what looked like an entrance hatch that had been damaged in the crash. The metal was twisted and bent, but there was definitely a way inside. Strange symbols glowed faintly around the opening, and the air inside seemed to shimmer with an odd quality. "Dr. Garcia, I want you to take atmospheric readings before we go in there," Jake ordered while studying the alien writing. "We need to know if whatever is inside can survive in our environment, or if we need to bring life support." Tony aimed his instruments through the damaged hatch and waited for the readings. The atmosphere inside was mostly nitrogen and oxygen, with some trace gases they could not identify. The pressure was lower than Earth normal, but definitely breathable for humans. "The air inside is safe for us, Captain," Tony reported. "But I am detecting some kind of energy field that might affect our electronics." Lisa's translation device suddenly crackled to life, with a clear voice speaking broken English. The words were carefully pronounced, like someone who had learned the language from old radio broadcasts. "Please help me, I am trapped in navigation chamber," the voice said with obvious effort. "My name is Zixara, and I am communications officer of exploration vessel Swift Current. My ship was attacked and crashed here many cycles ago. Everyone on the landing team froze as they heard the first words ever spoken to humans by an alien intelligence." The voice was definitely female and sounded very young and scared. There was a musical quality to her speech that made even the broken English sound beautiful. "This is Commander Jake Martinez of the Earthship Horizon's Edge," Jake replied through Lisa's communication device. "We received your distress signal and came to help. Are you injured, and can you meet us at the damaged entrance?" Several minutes passed before they heard a response. When Zixara spoke again, her voice was even more hesitant than before. "I am injured, but can move slowly," she said. "Please be patient. I am very frightened of meeting your species. We have watched your broadcasts for many years, but never made contact before." The landing team waited by the entrance while sounds of movement came from inside the ship. Tony prepared his medical equipment in case the alien needed treatment. Ben kept his weapons ready, but pointed away from the entrance as a sign of peaceful intentions. A soft blue light began glowing from inside the ship, and they could hear careful footsteps approaching. The light grew brighter, and Jake got his first glimpse of an alien being as Zixara appeared in the damaged doorway. She was unlike anything any human had ever imagined. Zixara stood about 5 feet tall, with a slender build that looked almost fragile. Her skin was translucent and seemed to glow from within with soft colors that shifted as they watched. Currently, her skin showed deep blues and purples, which Tony's scanner indicated meant fear and exhaustion. Her face was humanoid, but with larger eyes that reflected light like mirrors. She had no visible hair, but delicate ridges ran along her skull in beautiful patterns. Her hands had 4 long fingers with what looked like natural touch screens built into her palms. "Hello, humans," Zixara said quietly while staying in the doorway. "I am sorry my English is not very good. We learned your language from the radio signals your planet sends into space." Jake stepped forward slowly with his hands visible and empty. He could see that Zixara was injured with what looked like burns along her left arm and side. Despite her fear, she had managed to repair the most critical damage to her ship's communication system. "Your English is very good, Zixara," Jake said gently. "We are here to help you. Dr. Garcia is our medical officer, and he might be able to treat your injuries if you allow him." Zixara looked at Tony with those large reflective eyes and seemed to be considering the offer. Her skin color shifted to include some lighter blues, which apparently meant she was feeling more hopeful. "Your medical knowledge may not work on my physiology," she said, while stepping carefully out of her ship. "But I would be grateful for any assistance you can provide." Tony approached slowly with his medical scanner and basic first aid supplies. Zixara stood very still while he examined her injuries. The scanner showed severe tissue damage and what appeared to be radiation burns from some kind of energy weapon. "I can treat the surface wounds, but I do not understand your internal biology," Tony told her honestly. "However, I believe some basic healing techniques should work regardless of species." While Tony worked on Zixara's injuries, Lisa continued trying to improve communication. Zixara was clearly intelligent and picked up new English words quickly. She explained that her people were called the Veltar Collective, and they had been studying Earth for several decades. "We have been watching your species develop space travel," Ixara said as Tony bandaged her arm. "Your rapid technological progress has attracted attention from others who may not have peaceful intentions." Ben Walker looked up sharply at this statement. The idea that hostile aliens might be aware of Earth was exactly what military planners had worried about. "What kind of attention are you talking about?" Ben asked, while trying to keep his voice calm and non-threatening. Zixara's skin color shifted to darker purples and reds, which clearly indicated serious fear. She looked around nervously, as if expecting something dangerous to appear at any moment. "The Drakmar Empire has been expanding across this sector of the galaxy for thousands of years," she explained while her voice trembled. "They destroy any species that might become a threat before they can develop advanced technology." Jake felt a chill run down his spine as the implications became clear. Earth might be in danger from an enemy they never knew existed. "Are you saying they plan to attack Earth?" Jake asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Yes," Zixara replied simply. "They are already mobilizing a fleet and will reach your solar system in approximately 6 of your months. This is why I've been trying so desperately to contact you." The stars looked different today, and Commander Jake Martinez could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. He stood on the bridge of the research vessel, Horizon's Edge, and watched the endless black space through the main viewing screen. They had been traveling for 3 months now, and still no sign of intelligent life anywhere in this sector of space. DR. Lisa Brooks sat at her station running language analysis programs that had been silent for weeks. She was the best xenolinguist Earth had ever produced, but there was nothing for her to study out here, except the same old radio waves from distant pulsars. Chief Engineer Ryan Cooper was in the engine room, as always, making sure their fusion drives kept running smoothly. The man never seemed to sleep, and Jake worried about him sometimes. Captain Amy Sterling walked onto the bridge, carrying her morning coffee. She looked tired but alert, as she always did when they were this far from home. The crew respected her because she made the hard decisions when nobody else wanted to. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might not find anything yet. The morning routine started like every other day for the past 90 days. Lisa checked her instruments for any unusual signals, while Ryan ran diagnostics on all ship systems. The medical officer, Dr. Tony Garcia, was in the sickbay organizing supplies they probably would never need. Security Chief Ben Walker was training with the Marines in case they ever encountered something hostile. Everything changed at exactly 11:37 ship time when Lisa's console started beeping like crazy. She had never heard that particular sound before, and it made her heart race. The computer was detecting something that should not exist, according to everything they knew about physics. "Captain, I am picking up a signal that does not match anything in our database," Lisa said while her fingers danced over the controls. "The frequency patterns are completely unknown, and the transmission method is impossible with current technology." Amy walked over to Lisa's station and looked at the readings. The numbers on the screen made no sense at all. The signal was coming through quantum frequencies that required equipment they did not have on their ship. Yet somehow their basic receivers were picking it up anyway. Could it be a malfunction? In our systems, Amy asked, but she already knew the answer. Lisa was too good at her job to make that kind of mistake. No, Captain, all our equipment is working perfectly, Lisa replied while adjusting the signal filters. This is definitely coming from outside our ship, and it is definitely artificial. Someone or something is trying to communicate with us. Jake felt his pulse quicken as the implications hit him. This could be the first proof that humans were not alone in the universe. After decades of searching and listening, they might finally have found what they were looking for. The signal was weak and broken with long gaps between transmission bursts. Lisa worked frantically to clean up the audio, while Ryan rushed to the bridge to help with the technical aspects. The entire crew gathered around Lisa's station as she tried to make sense of what they were hearing. Static filled the bridge speakers, followed by sounds that definitely did not come from any human throat. The voice was high-pitched and musical, but there was something desperate about it. Lisa ran the sounds through every translation program they had, but nothing worked. "Wait, I think I am getting something," Lisa said as she adjusted the frequency modulation. The signal is using mathematical progressions as a base language, and there are patterns that suggest actual words. The voice came through clearer now, and everyone could hear the fear in it. Even though they could not understand the words, the emotion was universal. Someone was in trouble and asking for help. Ryan checked their instruments and confirmed the signal was coming from the third moon of a nearby planet. The moon was small and airless, according to their long-range scans, but something was definitely there. The signal strength suggested whatever was transmitting was on the surface. "Captain, I am detecting metallic structures on that moon," Ryan reported from his engineering station. "The configuration does not match any known natural formations, and the metal composition is unlike anything in our periodic table." Amy looked at the tactical display showing the moon's location. It would take them 6 hours to reach it if they changed course now. The decision could mean the difference between first contact and missing the greatest opportunity in human history. "Lisa, how long do you estimate before the signal stops completely?" Amy asked while studying the transmission patterns. "The signal strength is decreasing every few minutes, Captain," Lisa replied with concern in her voice. "Whatever is sending this message is either running out of power or getting weaker for some other reason. I estimate we have maybe 12 hours before we lose it completely." Jake watched Amy's face as she weighed their options. They were out here to find signs of alien life, but actually making contact was a different matter entirely. The protocols were clear about what to do if they found evidence of intelligence, but nobody had really expected it to happen. "Set course for that moon, maximum speed," Amy ordered, and the bridge crew immediately began working. "Ryan, I want every scanner we have focused on that location, and Lisa, keep working on that." Translation: the horizon's edge changed direction and accelerated toward the unknown moon. The crew worked with an energy they had not felt in months as the possibility of first contact became real. Everyone knew they were potentially about to make history. As they got closer, the signals became stronger, and Lisa made more progress with the translation. The voice was definitely asking for help and seemed to be getting more desperate. There were references to damage and being trapped, along with mentions of something called the Drakver that made the voice sound terrified. "Captain, I am picking up visual evidence of a crash site," Ryan announced as their sensors got better resolution. "There is definitely a spacecraft on the surface, and it appears to be partially buried in the lunar rock." The images on the main screen showed something that took everyone's breath away. The crashed ship was enormous and clearly not built by human hands. Its hull had an organic look to it, like it had been grown rather than manufactured. Strange lights pulsed along its surface, in patterns that suggested it was still partially operational. "My God, it is beautiful," Lisa whispered as she stared at humanity's first glimpse of alien technology. Amy stood up from her command chair and looked at each member of her crew. They all knew what this meant and what they had to do next. The protocols were clear, but the situation was unprecedented. "We are going to investigate that crash site and attempt to make contact with whoever is sending that distress signal," Amy announced to the bridge crew. "This is what we came out here to find, and we are not going to walk away now." The horizon's edge continued toward the moon, while the crew prepared for the most important mission in human history. None of them knew that the shy voice calling for help would soon change everything they thought they knew about Earth's place in the galaxy.